Hey guys, my name is Sean. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I just want to tell you a little bit of a story from my life of the way that God answered a prayer for me, and the way that He drastically changed my life as a consequence of that prayer. And the way that worked is that about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I decided to do a Christian program, a Christian training program called the Discipleship Training School with this organization called YWAM, or Youth with a Mission. And I decided to take this 6 month period to just get to know God to a greater degree in my life. And ultimately, the main reason I went was to find out what the purpose of my life was, what I was supposed to do as my job, what I was supposed to study in university, and basically try and figure out the rest of my life in a 6 month period. And so during that time, the way it worked is I had a 3 month kind of lecture period where each week I learned about different things about the character of God, about his heart as a father, about his lordship over my life, about different parts of God, like the Holy Spirit, the different persons of God. And then after that, I did a 2 month outreach phase, a phase where I went with a team of 13 other people to the nation of Indonesia to tell people about Jesus and to tell people about the love that Jesus had for them. And during that time in Indonesia, there was one moment where we went to this village, this really tribal village in the middle of the jungle. And to get there, we had to bring our huge hulking backpacks on motorcycles into the village and then walk in different places. And there were pigs everywhere, dogs everywhere, chickens just everywhere. And it's just this one muddy river that's kind of like the life source of this village. And just to give you some context about the prayer that followed after I arrived there was the fact that my whole life I kind of really struggled with a lot of different things. I struggled with depression. I struggled with feeling very lonely and just very much not wanted, or not necessarily did I want to be there? Did I want to be present in my life? And I always wanted to escape and be gone. And so during this period when I was in Indonesia and in this tribal village, there was one day when I was on the back of this motorcycle and just kind of going through these random trails and this random village roads with this man I had never met before, this village person of the village. And basically during that time I realized I was on a motorcycle in Indonesia, and it was a completely insane experience, like nothing I would ever go through unless God was present in my life, unless He had called me to this place. And from that, I just prayed to God, and I was like, God, I want a life of adventure. I want a wild life with You. I don't want to just live a boring kind of 9 to 5 life, but I want something real. And as a consequence of that, God completely answered my prayer. Right now, I actually work as a missionary in France, but I also travel all across Europe to different regions and nations around the world. And God answered my prayer by taking me through incredible experiences that I would never experience had God not existed. And as a consequence, I've realized that God is a God of adventure. He's a God who loves to answer our prayers and to drastically change our lives, to actually give us the things that our hearts have always desired. So I encourage you guys to just to pray that to God, to ask God to give you a wild, crazy life, and I assure you that He will.